Welcome to the Reinvented Life with Pamela Chanel David. Do you want to step up your game? Pursue your dreams. Be the best version of yourself. The Reinvented Life is here to help. The Reinvented Life is about courage. It's about staying relevant. It takes grit. It defies gravity. It's about taking inventory of where you are today and where you want to go. Embrace change. Make things possible and reinvent your life. Call in with questions at 888-994-4995. Now, it's time to reinvent your life with Pamela Chanel.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Reinvented Life. I'm Pamela Chanel David, host of your show and founder of the Reinvented Life Network. And today's a special show. I want to welcome you to a new season of the Reinvented Life and almost to the day, I think by a week, celebrating last week 5 years with AMP2 Media and them being the power and really the brains of the power behind this show. I can't thank them enough. Dawn and Freddie, the entire crew there are absolutely amazing. And when I say there, I'm in California, they're in Florida, and it's really been an amazing partnership now over 5 years. And as I said, it was about 5 years to the day, right in the smack of the beginning of COVID in 2020 that the Reinvented Life show was born and we started this partnership. So I'm here to really just express my gratitude to this amazing, amazing crew and amazing organization there in Florida, because I'm in California, across the country, and they make all of this happen. So my sincere gratitude, thanks, and love. I get a little teared up when I think about 5 years here and this partnership has been amazing, and it's growing and it's getting even bigger. I think bigger than any of us ever imagined. We want to have a real coast to coast connection and a presence of AMP2 Media here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So we're very excited about that. A lot of really good things and creative things to come. And that's really what I want to talk about today. You know, I thought about this show, I thought about the new season, and I thought, what is it that people really want to know about? Because when you hear the word reinvention or you hear the word reinvented life, what does that really mean? And so as someone that specifically wants to focus on growth for people, accelerating whatever someone's excited about in their life, and giving people the tools to be able to successfully embrace change has become what the Reinvented Life is all about. So that is really what today's show is all about. And specifically, I get a lot of questions, especially in today's, I would say, business climate, on what is it like to go from being an employee, as an example, to becoming an entrepreneur. A lot of times starting as a solopreneur, eventually maybe going on to forming one's own company. And what does that take? What does it take to make that transition? Any kind of change and any kind of transition, which is at the center of reinvention, is difficult. And I'm the first to put it out there. This is not easy, and it's not for the faint of heart. And whether it's in business or in your life, when you're looking to make a change, again, it's not easy. But what I want to show people, and what the Reinvented Life business is all about, is showing people that it can happen and one can do it. And today is about hints and tips and resources on how to do that. And again, whether it's going from an employee to an entrepreneur, or whether it's maybe making a life change, maybe making a life move, maybe wanting to find fulfillment in retirement, or wanting to take the knowledge of what you've got in one field and move it to something else, shifting relationships. The interesting part is at the core of all of that, it's all the same process. And so once one learns the process of successfully being able to make the shifts and make the changes in one's life, it becomes something that you can apply to all the different areas of your life. And that's what's really fun for people. And I say fun because it's kind of like learning a recipe for something and then being able to make it over and over again. The reinvented life is being able to embrace change and do it successfully. Because how often does one start something as gung ho, is going to do it, lays it out, and 2 weeks later, or a month later, or a year later, it's gone by the wayside? Because it takes people generally change out of what is the familiar. And again, whether that's going from an employee mentality, a conditioning, if you will, of something one's had for sometimes decades, or just a life conditioning of doing things a certain way, things become familiar and things become habits. So the first thing that we look at when I work with clients and when people want to embrace change, again, in anything in their life, is what is that familiar aspect that one is able to take a look at and say, I'm moving on to something else, because it will require a new set of habits that are going to form eventually a new lifestyle with new routines and a way to look at things in a new way. So, at the base of any kind of shift is looking things at a new way. And an employee, as an example, has a conditioning that their job, so to speak, is about what they do. And generally in life, again, with any kind of change, there's a movement that needs to take place. And I'd have you jot this one point down if you remember anything from this podcast, is we are not human doings. We are human beings. So the successful transition in any kind of shift and change in one's life is the ability to look at things from a new perspective and look at how one is showing up. How is one being in a situation rather than the doings? The conditioning of the corporate world is about doing, 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 and being extremely task oriented. And generally in life, if you think about your life and you think about, you're really honest with yourself and you have that really open conversation with that mirror, our lives in general have become very much about the doing as well. You know, how often are we looking at the to-do list for the day? Just to be practical. Or how often are we looking at the things that we're real involved in and we have to get done? These are conditionings that become very disabling when one wants to change. Because in general, it is not about the doings. The doings come, but it's about the transition, the elevation, the leveling up one's frequency, however one wants to look at it, from the doing to the being. And by the being, I mean, what is our vision? Are we aligned with that vision? Are we moving? Is our body in alignment with our thoughts and our vision of where we want to go? And again, if you're looking at someone wanting to transition maybe from a corporate world into running their own business because they have a real passion about something, I often say it's beyond the passion, because you can have all sorts of wonderful ideas about what you want to do and what you're passionate about, but the success comes from looking at it from a new perspective and realizing that it's not all about the doings. You know, the doings are very trapping in many ways, because it always is focusing on all the preparations and everything that needs to get done. And I need to be fully prepared for this meeting, or I need to be fully prepared for this aspect of my life, or I need to be fully prepared to engage in this particular friendship or this particular relationship. And when one is elevating in life, again, if they're moving from a corporate conditioning into one of entrepreneurship, or they're just making a shift in one's life, that preparation again can be very disabling, because it doesn't allow for an openness. And one of the tips that I can give everyone looking to make shifts and changes in their life, and we could talk all day about successfully embracing change, but today's show is just to whet your appetite. You know, we have a new season. We have some phenomenal guests we're going to have on here each and every week going forward. And I just wanted to whet the appetite today and get people excited about this journey of embracing change. It can be about shifts in your health you want to make. It can be shifts in your very personal life, or, as I mentioned, in your business life. But having an openness and starting with the thoughts of being open to what's around you and not necessarily moving in just the conditioned way that we think of in one direction. Being able to shift at that fork in the road. Being able, if you're going from the corporate world to entrepreneurship, to take on a lot of new pieces of a business that one's never thought about because you've just been involved with one aspect of a company. Suddenly, in a solopreneur situation, you become the whole company. In the beginning, until you're resourced to have new people join you, it's you. Or you resource yourself to form alignments with others that can help expand your business. It's just you. So you become involved with processes that you've never been involved with before. And as I mentioned, it requires an openness. So having an openness, whether that's in a new relationship, a new job, a new experience of any type, is extremely, probably top of the list, important. And by openness, there's a lot involved with being open. There's a lot involved with being open to new ideas, being involved with taking a step back and figuring out from the beginning of that wonderment and how exciting things can be in the beginning of anything, how to keep that excitement alive along a journey with anything in your life, keeps one, again, open to changing and it not be as scary and as fearful and locking one back into what's familiar, but an openness to forge ahead on a road that you may not be able to see the whole destination. So you take the road bit by bit by bit as it comes without the full understanding of what is there on that road. The other piece that I think is very important when one is, again, to whet your appetite on this new season of reinventing and change is this notion that one doesn't always have to do. And I talk about this a lot in my client sessions and in presentations I do and all sorts of speaking engagements, is that when we do, we often align success with the doings or the givings. And along with having an openness, generally any change requires one's ability and one's openness to receive. And the notion of evolving from giving to receiving is, again, a whole separate topic and we can talk about for days. But I want to just plant the seeds of that and have people think about, am I receiving? Am I open to receiving all the gifts that are around me each and every day? And so I think that's a very important point to make in this very short time we have here in talking about this subject. The other thing that I think is very important when we think about making any kind of shift, and it goes back to that notion of preparedness, there's a conditioning that takes place of preparedness. And again, it keeps people thinking they're getting so prepared in one way with one thing that it doesn't allow the openness of what comes as one gets involved, either as an entrepreneur or with a new relationship, a friendship of any kind. When I say relationship, it can be a romantic relationship, it can be a friendship of any kind. But one does not know what and how that kind of beautiful engagement, again, it can be anything in life, will come to be and what is in front of them. So it's constantly approaching with a knowingness that one has the strength to really approach, and one is resourced to approach anything that may come along. There's going to be tons of bumps in the road, whether it's bumps in the road with your health or bumps in the road with your finances or bumps in the road with your ideas that may not seem, once one gets into it, as easy to accomplish as maybe they thought they were. Or along the way, another thought about one's business or one's life comes to be. And it's, again, the ability to shift and change. And so with the Reinvented Life, there's a very, very, I would say, not easy, but simple algorithm, if you will, way, if you will, series, if you will, steps, if you will, whichever way you want to describe it, that you can go through and apply to anything in your life. It's a process of which you can take the elements of where you are and look at where you want to be. And I say it all the time, it's like you're filling in the gaps constantly. So with reinventing, if you have an openness and you receive things that come to be rather than always just thinking about what am I need to do, and how do I need to give to certain situations. These are going to be life-changing moments for you. And then lastly, what I want to talk about today, and again, this is just the beginning, but I want to share today with anyone listening or the people that are watching this live stream is reinventing is about often about at the core of the word reinvent is inventing, and inventing is creating. And so the reinvention process at the core of it is a creative process, or what one is creating is oftentimes something different entirely than the way they've looked at things before, or done things before, or created things before, and that can be scary. And so the first thing that when people hear the word change and they hear the word reinvent, which is all over the place now, is fear comes up. And so I think it's very important, whether it's with us, whether it's, with anyone you're working with, that this notion of fear doesn't have to be something that is scary. And fear can actually be embraced. It's there. We break it down. We figure out what that fear is, why it's there, and how to overcome it to create something completely new. And so fear stops so many people from actually doing what they want to do, or taking something to the next level, or speaking up about something, or creating something in a relationship, creating something new in a relationship, creating something new with a friendship, or incredibly a dynamic process with anything in life. That incredible dynamic process is going to be fueled by the notion that it is okay to get involved with something that you may not be an expert at yet, you may not have all the knowing of yet, but that you have a passion and a vision of where you want to go. And that's why when we talk about accelerating growth, we talk about accelerating growth in your business, we talk about accelerating growth in your life, and oftentimes what's happening in one's life completely is reflective, even if one thinks they're keeping things separate in their business as well. And so that's what the Reinvented Life is all about. We've been doing this on air together now for 5 years, and it's exciting to see what we're going to be doing together with Amp2 Media going forward, the growth that's going to be, what the next 5 years are. I mean, it's gone so fast. I feel like we're going to be at the 10th anniversary together before we know it. But again, I just want to, in this show, express my gratitude to the true partnership. And through all adversities that's happened for everyone over the last 5 years, here we are together as partners, bringing a voice of change, bringing a voice of what it means to reinvent and to inspire and to take a look at, again, no matter what challenges are in the way, how does one take those challenges and know that from that there is going to be growth? From that, there is going to be new ideas, new understandings, making things bigger. And that's what it's all about. And that's why these adversities and why we can triumph over any kind of physical, even adversities that are standing in our way by employing and putting in the dynamics and the steps of the reinvented life. So I thank everyone today for listening to us, for being here, and for the notion that Change is good. Embrace it. It doesn't need to be scary, and that all things are possible. Contact me at info@thereinventedlife.com. That's info@thereinventedlife.com. I'd love to hear from you. Start a dialogue and see if we can help you to embrace change and have a life that you vision that's bigger or different or an aspect of it of what it is now. Look forward to seeing you next week. Again, incredible guests this upcoming season.
Thank you for tuning in to The Reinvented Life with Pamela Chanel David. Tune in each week so we can work and grow together to become the best version of ourselves. Keep striving, keep dreaming, keep working, and embrace change. You may contact Pamela Chanel at info@thereinventedlife.com.